Here we have the latest generation Marinemaster from Seiko, and as a huge Seiko fan, as a huge Marinemaster fan, I'm excited for this presentation, and I'm going to do kind of a deep dive here in talking about the good aspects about this watch, but more particularly comparing it to prior generations of the Seiko Marinemaster, a cult classic modern release, which really for years was their nicest diver release. It was kind of their Tiffany level diver with higher quality components, finishing, and movement. So just so you know, if you're not familiar with my channel, I'm a huge Marinemaster fan. I've owned 6 different Marinemasters over the years. I've owned one from every prior generation, starting with an SBDX001 and ending with the SLA references that had the ceramic bezel insert that was partially loomed, that were not actually branded Marinemasters. So that's where I'm coming from. Big shout out to Exquisite Timepieces for lending in this new release for a presentation. Exquisite is a family-owned AD in Florida. They carry over 60 brands. If you are shopping Seiko, Grand Seiko, Tudor, Omega, any of the brands that they carry, I definitely recommend them, and a link will be below. Now let's talk about this particular design. It goes back to 1968 when Seiko introduced really their first original design, their first serious professional diver, and that watch had a curvy monoblock case. It had a crown at the 4 position. It had linear hands. It had a distinctive looking seconds hand loom tip. It had a 12 marker, which was kind of shaped like a baseball home plate that had a split in the middle. All the other markers were traditional circular and rectangular. They were nice and large like the watch. And the watch had a date at the 3 with a silvered date disc and a highly shaped, highly domed crystal, a fully indexed bezel, and coin edging for the bezel grip. That was their diver. And all of the modern Marinemasters that were released from the 001 on, they stayed true to each of those elements. Some of them added a few different things like a ratcheting quick extension system or a partially loomed ceramic bezel insert, but really the essence of the watch was very close to that 1968 original. Now, this new 4th generation Marinemaster, this SLA077, it has some of those aspects, but it completely ditches some of them. Now, what did Seiko keep? They kept the curvy cushion case with the crown down at the 4 position. This is distinctively Seiko diver design DNA. I love that. Though they've taken this watch and downsized it. They've scaled it down by about 1.5 millimeters in diameter, and that makes a huge difference on the wrist. You might love it. You might think, dang, I liked the Marinemaster before, but it was just too chunky, too tall, too heavy. This feels more refined. It feels more sophisticated. It's much thinner because this no longer has the monoblock case. So you might love that, you might hate that. But Seiko has also retained a similar hand design, a similar marker layout, but they have tweaked some of the angles, some of the sizes. You can tell the design inspiration, but it does feel more refined. It does feel a little different. This also has a silvered date disc, just like that original, but now this is placed at the 430 instead of the 3, and that is a divisive point. Some purists will say keep it at the 3. Others will say, no, I want a marker at the 3. And some will say, I don't care, I just hate a date at the 4 or the 430, and this has it at the 430. This also has a fully indexed ceramic bezel insert, though it is no longer partially loomed to the 20 index like the prior generation SLA version. So I like the look. I like some of the changes here. I really like the fact that they've placed the HL35 movement within. They've kept with that caliber. That's a huge deal. This is one of Seiko's best movements by far, and I would be personally upset if they did not carry with the 8L and they put in, say, a 6L, which I don't find to be as nice of a caliber. This also has a 5-link bracelet design that, again, is far more refined than the prior version of the 5-link design on a Marinemaster. Those older versions had abnormally long links that looked a little ridiculous. This has shorter link lengths and I think looks very sharp. Now, what did Seiko ditch? I mentioned the monoblock case. In doing that, they dramatically reduced the height of the watch. It's 13.4 millimeters now, and that's to the top of this slightly domed crystal. Now, that crystal shape is, again, much different. The prior versions had a highly domed shape. It was, it was distinctive. It was beautiful. This is more traditional. I will say it has decent ARC or anti-reflective coatings, and that is a massive point for myself. I love good ARC. I think that should be on every modern watch. Now, this also does not have the ratcheting quick extension system of prior versions. This has a traditional clasp system, so some will like that. Some will say it's sacrilegious to lose that quick extension system, but the clasp is much thinner now, and that makes a difference while you're wearing the watch. Now, what did Seiko add to this version of the Marinemaster? They've added a silvered textured dial that I think is so dynamic. It's very beautiful. Seiko has done some amazing dials with the Marinemaster in years past, highly colored or highly textured, but they've never done a simple silver or opaline colored dial. So I love that addition here with the SLA077. Now, they also added a different location for the Marinemaster branding. It's now placed up by the logo instead of down by below the hand stack. And why I think they've done that is they care about the pyramid symmetry of the pro specs, the divers, and the water resistance designation that is found on the bottom portion of the dial. If you were to add a long word down there, it would throw off that visual pyramid. So I think they placed it up by the Seiko logo, and you might love that. You might hate that. I find it interesting that the first 2 generations of the Marinemaster had Marinemaster down below the hand stack, and then the 3rd generation, they took it off entirely. And I always wondered, was that because of Fortis? Did they say, hey, don't use the Marinemaster name, we have that name? Or was it Seiko making a decision, oh, there's another brand in the market that has a Marinemaster, let's take that off the dial? I never knew which was which, if it was a trademarked name or not. So it's just interesting that Seiko's bringing back the branding, but they're placing it up by their logo as opposed to down below the hand stack. Now, in that regard, it appears to me that Seiko is using Marinemaster in a more expansive way, and they're not just reserving it for homages to that iconic 1968 diver design. In fact, Seiko makes several watches these days that pay homage to that design, and all of them do not have Marinemaster on the dial. It's just a couple that do these new releases. But then Seiko, they did their 62 MAS homages, the SJE references, and they put the name on that watch, which to me was a head scratcher. So from my perspective, it just appears that the usage of the name has become disjointed. It has become haphazard, even if it's a deliberate choice from the brand. Now, after spending some time with this watch, what are my big takeaways? I have 3 main thoughts. 1, there is no denying that this is a nice watch. The fit, the finish, the material choice, the dial details, the movement selection. It makes it clear this is a luxury watch from Seiko that is very special. I would say the quality is approaching Grand Seiko levels, so it's a very nice piece, and I love the fact that it's a little cheaper than the prior generation Marinemaster by $200. I think going down a little bit in price was a great move. Now, this is also a smaller watch, and that's a big deal. Seiko is going with market sizing trends that are inching lower and lower, and that makes this much smaller feeling than the prior generation Marine Master, which again was chunky and tall and top heavy and a little ridiculous looking. So by downsizing a little bit, I think they will lose some clients that loved the old Marine Master, clients like me who have bought Marine Masters before. But more importantly, Seiko's a business and they're trying to gain new clients. And they probably recognized the Marine Master as done before. It just didn't have broad appeal. It was chunky, heavy, and a little ridiculous looking. Ridiculously awesome, yes, but again, not huge appeal. And by sizing this down, refining it, losing some of those more intense aspects, they've broadened the overall appeal. And I think that's very intentional from the brand. Now, let me answer that last question. Is this worthy of the Marine Master name? Admittedly, this might be the traditionalist in me, the purist in me, the Marine Master 300 fan in me. This just doesn't seem to have the magic of prior generation Marine Masters. And I'm talking mainly of a few things like massive markers or the best diving hand design of all time. The last generation had finesse with the chamfered edges, the grain brushing. This feels a little different. This does not have the monoblock case. This does not have the dive extension system. This does not wear big and powerfully like a Marine Master of years past. So yes, I will call this a 4th gen Marine Master. It does meet the criteria, but to myself, it's a diluted homage. It has broader main appeal, but not necessarily to me. I'm not the type of demographic that Seiko is trying to advertise to. I find this a very nice diver, but not quite worthy of the Marine Master name, even though I will call it a Marine Master in the future. And this is just one Seiko fan's perspective. Keep that in mind. When I buy my 7th Marine Master, which I'm sure I will at some point, it's probably going to be a prior generation of some type, most likely a discontinued version, and not this SLA077, as nice as this watch is. But let me know what you think. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this dive into the Marine Master today. Let me know if you have any specific questions. And if you are shopping Seiko, I recommend Exquisite, and you're welcome to reach out to my own sales associate, Joe. I've linked his contact information below. Like this video if you appreciated it. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe. I post luxury watch videos, comparisons, rambles, discussions every couple days, and your support would be greatly appreciated.